The 2015 postseason. The 2015 postseason is here, and the sprint to the finish and perhaps a cross-country championship begins today. It's 2015 Big East Cross Country Championships here on the Big East Digital Network. With John Fanta, I'm Will Haskett. Welcome to Cincinnati, where the Xavier Musketeers host this fine event for the first time. And John, two storylines to watch. The men will run before the women today. Really one storyline in the men's race. Can we have a three-time individual champion?
We have never had that in Big East cross country, and Villanova's Patrick Tiernan looks to do that today. The Australian native trying to make history, and it is a fascinating storyline to watch. We'll have more on him throughout the broadcast, but, Will, that leads the way.
All eyes on Tiernan. On the women's side of things, however, there'll be eyes everywhere because it's a pretty wide open race, both individually and on the team side. Who has the deepest pack will probably determine the champion today. What are you looking for in the women's race?
Well, last year was the Georgetown Hoyas who dominated 7 of the top 9 in the final standings individually. Those were all Hoyas, but you have to look at this conference, and it is stacked at the top. The Providence Friars, a top 10 team that is incredibly deep. The depth in this conference is so fascinating to watch, and it's going to be fascinating to watch much more than just today, but at the national level as well. This is going to be a fun one.
4 times in the last 8 years, the national championship has been decided by a team that came out of the Big East Conference. All eyes on the women's race, but before that, the men's race in Patrick Tiernan. We'll have that race for you coming up next here on the Big East Digital Network.
Butler students leave ready to contribute on day one.
They come with passion, they come with professionalism.
We're required to have 2 internships during our time here.
And you have step-by-step guidance through the job search process.
It's always challenging to find a job, but at Butler, the community that's out there makes it a ton easier.
Butler really opened our eyes to the things that we can do once we left the campus.
We teach students to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, and those are the skills that every employer is looking for.
At Creighton, our students know the true value of higher education is measured beyond academic excellence. It's about making a difference in the world. It's the community that helps you find talents that are uniquely yours. It's knowing that service to others never goes out of style.
Runners heading to the line here in this men's Big East Cross Country Championship. There you see those set to begin the first race, 8,000 meters for the men to decide a Big East champion. Welcome back to this golf center at Kings Island, and the first time ever that the Xavier Musketeers play host to a Big East championship. Will Haskett with you. You met John Fanta at the beginning. He'll be along the course today providing insight and so many great storylines to watch this race as you see the runners going through their final instructions from the front. It is a cool day. There is a significant breeze coming out of the southwest, blowing about 15 miles an hour sustained, gusting into the 20s. Temperatures right now hovering in the upper 40s. From a temperature standpoint, it is a beautiful day to go running. The wind will be a little bit of a factor, especially at the beginning of this race as the runners make their way down towards Interstate 71. That will be the hardest test into the breeze. They will have to make that run towards the south twice during this course. This is a golf course, and you'll actually see a few participants who have weathered the cool conditions today to play on some of the holes that are not taken up by the cross-country runners today, but all eyes will be on this race and the women's race to follow en route to 2015 championships. We mentioned it off the top. So much on the individual side in this race. Patrick Tiernan, you'll see him in bib number 88 for Villanova today. Can he become the first man to win 3 Big East championships? He is not the first to have the chance, but will he be the first to execute? Runners are ready, and we are underway. 3 top 25 ranked teams in the field here this week. Villanova 25th, Providence 24th. Georgetown by rankings alone would be your favorite coming into this race. They have 2 wins this year to start the year and a very strong finish at the pre-national race just a couple of weeks ago in Louisville on a not necessarily a similar course, but at least from a competition standpoint, a great preparer. You would say that the Hoyas 1 through 5 in terms of their top finishers have the best roster to perhaps win this meet today, but Villanova may be the best at the top. Not just Patrick Tiernan, who is that 2-time Big East champion, the junior from Australia, but he's got some help as well from the rest of the pack. Jordy Williams, 6-time Big East champion in track, was 3rd in this meet a year ago. And watch out for Rob Denal, 6th at the Big East meet a year ago for the champions from Villanova. A 1-2-3 monster for the Wildcats that could pay huge dividends in this race if they were able to take the top 3 positions, but they will certainly have some competition. There you see them making that long trek down towards the end, and they will hook back around to the various fingers of this course as we take a look overhead at what we have here, the first time ever the Golf Center at Kings Island hosting this Big East cross-country championship. There you see Interstate 71 off in the distance. This was footage from yesterday as we toured this course, and that's that stretch. You see them making the run down that stretch. They turn back around as they get to the interstate, and they'll work their way through those holes to the left-hand side of your screen. Off in the distance is Kings Island. A little chilly today if you got yourself onto a roller coaster ride. The athletes will work their way through this portion. We'll fly through the entire course a little bit later on in the broadcast, but they will finger their way through a couple of the different holes. And it should be noted, weather-wise here in the Midwest, it was a very dry fall. And up until the middle portion of this past week, it was a very dry golf course. This was going to be fast. It was going to be firm. And then over 2 inches of rain fell on the property midweek, in fact, where the runners have already traversed through the beginning of the start line. There was actually a standing lake of water that had not drained out. It took about 24 hours for that water to drain out of the golf course and allow this meet to happen. But they have put down a little bit of mulch, especially in some of the areas around the course here, and they are not anticipating any slips or falls today from the runners. You see Patrick Tiernan near the front. Course conditions are going to be a big part in the storyline of tracking him today and his run towards history. For more on that, here's John.
Thanks a lot, Will. And yes, I was talking to Patrick Tiernan and several other runners before they took off this morning, and they said this is going to be a fast course with the rain in the middle of the week, and there was a lot of it. An incredible job done by the grounds crew here to get the water down. It is still soggy, so that certainly will play a factor with the speed of the course. It certainly dampens it up a little bit more, but the runners say that this course will throw twists and turns at them, and Tiernan said that that's a huge, huge part of him running this race, how he approaches it with all those twists and turns. That's going to play a major factor today in that this is low grass, and the fact of the matter is that it's going to be a little bit more damp than we originally thought, but at the same time, it's a faster course for them. It's going to throw those twists and turns, so that will cause for a lot of intriguing factors as this race goes on. Back to you, Will.
John, thank you so much. Yes, the coach is saying with so many turns on this course, it could be tricky as the runners get into their footing throughout the course of the race. There you take a look at the leaders, led right now by Butler's Eric Peterson. He was 8th at the pre-national meet just a couple of weeks ago and is a real threat to dethrone Patrick Tiernan's run. Tiernan, though, right there with him, step in step. He's the one with the beard, and then you see at the top, the real story in terms of tracking this race is how many guys at the front of the pack can Villanova get. You saw 3 on your screen there. 2 Georgetown Hoyas up there right now, John Green and Darren Fahey, 38 and 37. So you've got 3 Wildcats, a Bulldog, and 2 Hoyas in the front pack of 6 right now. As you see the back of the pack working their way through, they come back up towards where they started from and now after this turn here, they will make a left-hand turn and get to the far reaches of the golf course. And that is where this twisty and turny sort of course really gets a little bit interesting as we take a look at the full fly-through of this 8,000-meter course for the men. And here you see where the start was yesterday. They came down this little path and worked their way through. And so, again, it's so interesting. If you're a golfer who happens to run a little bit, you're going to be running in the fairways. You're running in the rough a little bit today. You'll have to cross over some cart paths. And because of the precipitation that fell on this property earlier this week, the conditions are going to change. And John alluded to it a little bit. As you make some of these turns today, some of them will be a little bit more elevated than others. But there is no standard terrain on this course because of the nature of the golf course property. A little dissimilar to what many of these runners will face and have already faced at the Tom Sawyer Park course, which will host the national championships in Louisville in just a couple of weeks. That more of a parkland layout. You have different grasses, a much more trampled, hard pan, faster sort of surface. This one can be soft. It can be a little bit slick at times, and while it has drained nicely over the last couple of days, it's certainly a different course than we anticipated seeing just a little less than 5 or 6 days ago. So this is where the runners had started earlier today, making that run all the way back down to the very edge of the property before they will sort of loop back around through a couple of different fingers and a couple different holes, to be honest with you, around this golf course. And there you see that spot where the men will hit 5,000 meters, working their way back through the neighborhoods. And then there's one of those turns that we alluded to. It's not just the 90-degree sort of variety. You will make full 180-degree turns in the span of about 30 or 40 yards. And so how the runners are able to navigate those, and again, most of this footage coming yesterday as we were able to get a full tour of the property, you can see pretty good footing, not a lot of mud. There's only one section on this entire course where they had to come in and lay down some mulch to provide ample footing, proper footing for the athletes. But there you can see the different types of terrain that they will manage, down fairways, through rough, and all the way around the course. And there you see how it comes back around and will hook around another hole and sort of continue that pathway around the property. So there's a little bit of a look at the entire course, and you can see the various fingers there on your screen. They started from where the bottom of your screen is, worked their way down to that left-hand side, have already hooked back around to make the loop, and then worked their way down to that middle right-hand portion of your screen, and will work and run through those 2 sort of golf holes that you see there to the right-hand side. They will do that twice. They will come back through the middle, loop back around towards the highway, Interstate 71, and go back and repeat that same process will the men in the 8,000-meter race. And there you see the other side of the property. No running going on there today, folks. They're golfing over there today. 9 holes open here at the Golf Center at Kings Island. So a little bit of sport for everybody today. And it should be noted, not the only race today. As we arrived on property, there was a little Halloween 5K. Saw Spider-Man, the Hulk, and a few others going for a jog today as well. The men are on their way. Patrick Tiernan, Eric Peterson, 1-2 between Villanova and Xavier at the front. Good packs developing for the top teams as well. More from the 2015 Big East Cross Country Championships after this.
As one of America's premier Catholic universities, Seton Hall is a place where leaders learn to excel, both in and out of the classroom, to explore new frontiers, to serve those in need, to succeed as champions, to achieve their dreams.
We are Villanova University, passionate students, fearless innovators, future leaders. We are proud and grounded by humility. We learn together, work together, and celebrate together.
Nearing 10 minutes into this men's 8K championship race, and we have some separation at the front. At 2,000 meters, here were your splits. John Green from Georgetown was in first. Eric Peterson was in second. And Patrick Tiernan was in third with Jordan Williams, Robert Denault, Scott Carpenter from Georgetown, all in the lead pack of 6, all separated by just 2 seconds. So it was Green, Peterson, really nose-to-nose with Tiernan, all of them separated by just 0.3 of a second. Williams and Denault about a second behind that pack that is separated to the beginning. Also at that split, Georgetown with a 1-point edge, 34-35. Again, take all of these results both as unofficial and with a grain of salt, as so many things can happen between now and the finish. But we are nearing the midway point, nearing that 5K, excuse me, that 4K stretch, I should say, in this 8K race, as we are at 10:50 and ticking on the clock. Will Patrick Tiernan be able to become the first man in Big East history to win 3 Big East championships? There you see now as a trio at the front of the pack, as it is Tiernan with Green of Georgetown and Eric Peterson of Butler. 1, 2, and 3. Will there be separation from those 3, or will we see a sprint to the finish? And I should say the finish line, there are a lot of hills. It is a narrow little chute between some trees, and then there are a couple of little dips and dives in the final 200, 300 meters or so, footing not guaranteed all the way to the finish. There you see those up on the hill that have gathered to cheer on their favorite teams, and we should say thank you to Xavier University, first time ever that they have hosted a Big East championship. There you see the top 3 on your screen. It is Green of Georgetown leading that pack. Tiernan looking very comfortable in that stride on the outside, and Eric Peterson is not letting those 2 out of his sight as well. Peterson 8th at the pre-national race just a few weeks ago. John Green, who leads this race, was 6th in that meet, and his head coach Brandon Bonsi saying that was a huge confidence builder for him to finish there 6th place at that pre-national race. Can he pull the upset today? And it would be an upset if he were able to derail Patrick Tiernan. With more on that, let's go to John Fanta.
The most recent Big East Male Cross Country Runner of the Week award. So, Will, it's safe to say that Jonathan Green comes here. It's been easy being him, and he's peaking at the perfect time right now for the Hoyas at the forefront for Georgetown.
Thank you so much, John. And very important with that, again, running in very hard to get a grasp on where teams are at this point of the season. You're just trying to stay healthy. You're trying to keep guys at their peak shape while also getting them up to speed at the right time to peak going into this meet, and for those that advance onto the regional and then the national side of things as well. And for a guy like John Green to run with the country's best and to gain that confidence certainly is a huge boost for his chances moving forward. And we should say, while the grasses and the terrain are a little bit different, this race today, for those teams that may make it all the way to the national championship in Louisville, provides a somewhat similar test. A flatter layout, not a lot of elevation, a little bit more constricted running room. You're running shoulder to shoulder. It's not as wide open as the traditional layout we've seen over the past 10, 15 years in Terre Haute, Indiana, and that beautiful facility that has hosted the national championship. This year back at Tom Sawyer Park in Louisville, Kentucky. Again, the footing will be a little bit different depending on what Mother Nature does over the next couple of weeks, but not nearly the elevation and the exposure to the elements that these runners have seen that ate up a guy like Patrick Tiernan a year ago in the national championship meet. So for those that have run well already there this year, that take that confidence into this race like Green at Georgetown has done, it bodes incredibly well for their opportunity going to that national championship here in a couple of weeks. We've reached past that midway point now, 14:34 and ticking on the clock. Again, the meet record 22:39 set by John Gregorek back in 1981. You see the golden age of times in cross country, the 70s and 80s, and very few people have been able to come close to those numbers. Well, Patrick Tiernan a year ago in Indianapolis at this Big East Championship set the third fastest Big East 8,000-meter time in history. The win today will likely prevent him from coming close to that, but perhaps, given his strength and given the growth of the top of the Big East Conference, that record that is 34 years old this year may have a time to be broken sometime in the very near future, perhaps today, although the splits not exactly showcasing that we're going to be on record pace in this meet here today. Again, it is three more at the top: Patrick Tiernan, John Green, and Butler's Eric Peterson, 1, 2, and 3. And right now, way too close to call between Villanova and Georgetown on the team side. John, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Will. And one of the teams not featured in that top three, well, it's the Providence Friars, who are ranked 24th in the country. They've not won a Big East championship since 2006, but you talked about history. It's the Friars who have accounted for 15 overall. A big storyline on this team: how about Julian Oakley, the senior frontrunner from New Zealand? Oakley originally came to Providence for track. He did not start competing in cross country until he was a sophomore. The coaching staff loved him so much, Will, that they talked to him. They said, "You've got to run cross country." And Julian Oakley went right ahead and has done just that, and comes into this race today and is one of the front runners that we'll be watching as it goes on. But a fascinating story, a track runner who then transitions right into cross country and becomes one of the best runners in the league.
Thank you so much, John. So many good stories, and again, a long season for all of these runners, and we'll see that storyline play out even more in the women's race, with some who are not competing this year because of injuries, some All-Americans who are back this season after sitting out a year ago. This is a long grind of a year, and this is without a doubt the most violent of the three running seasons for those that you have here. Cross country and the way fitness has grown in the sport has become a sport, especially on the women's side, dominated so much by middle distance runners, those that will then transition into the indoor and outdoor track seasons, the 5,000 meter sort of specialists. You don't see the 10,000 meter specialists with as much success here, just given the sprint-like nature of these distances. As we near 18 minutes in this match, and we take a look down in the distance, and there is a little bit of separation, it appears, at the front of the pack. We will see them as they hook back around, but as I look from my broadcast vantage point here from the finish line, we saw the chase vehicle out deep, and it appears, if you continue to pan there to the left, there you see that separation at the front. And if I'm looking at that correctly, that is John Green that's ahead of Eric Peterson. We will get a better view of them as they hook back around, and will make the sprint back to the finish line, where those who are at the start line have gathered back towards that vantage point. But there has been a little bit of separation, it appears, at the front. There's a look at the finish line, passing 18 minutes in this 8,000-meter championship run. Defending team champions are Villanova. Back-to-back years, the Wildcats have captured a Team Big East championship. It's helped to have the winner the last couple of years, but we will see if 1B and 1C in Marcus O'Sullivan's lineup, Jordy Williams and Rob Denault, can finish strong for the Wildcats to make it a perhaps double three-peat. Could we see a three-peat individual and three-peat team champion, all from the Wildcats of Villanova? Checking the updated, and these are now split times at the 7,000-meter mark. So these are just coming into us. Patrick Tiernan, yes, it is Patrick Tiernan, who you do not see at that screen, who has opened up a 13-second lead over John Green. So that when we saw that shot, it was Green leading Peterson of Butler. That was for second. Tiernan has put on the afterburners, and at 1,000 meters to go has opened up a 13-second lead over John Green. Eric Peterson in third for Butler. He is 8 seconds clear of Rob Denault from Villanova. Williams from Villanova there in fifth. And then it is all Hoyas. Georgetown right now at 7,000 meters have runners 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So in a opportunity to be in a dominant position. Now Villanova checks in right after them with Harry Warnick at 11th. Robert Hurlbut is at 15th. So at 7,000 meters, the split was 32 points for Georgetown, 36 for Villanova. Still some things to change, but the Wildcats are going to need a couple of guys to swap positions with that block of Georgetown runners running in that pack that have given them right now, for the moment, just a 4-point cushion, again, unofficially, with 1,000 meters or so to go in this race. So they make that turn. They will make their way back towards us as we tick past 20 minutes now in this race, 20:26 right now. Again, the meet record 22:39. Don't think that Tiernan, even though he has really put on the Jets, is going to have a chance at that one. Again, he's running right now into the breeze, making a little bit of a turn, and then we'll make the stretch back down the chute here to the finish line. But we wanted to know if those top competitors, the main competition for Patrick Tiernan, would give him a race. And for the first half of this race, it seemed that Eric Peterson of Butler and John Green from Georgetown were able to do that. But there at about 5,500, 6,000 meters, Tiernan really turned it on as he turned back towards the highway and into the breeze, and has opened up a wide margin, again, of 13 seconds at the last checkpoint. Past 21 minutes now in this race. Tiernan leading Green and Peterson, but the race way too close to call on terms of the team side. And again, all results that we give you here will be unofficial. The lead vehicle now in our sights as it makes its way down over the hills, and Patrick Tiernan right behind it, showing no signs of slowing down. It looks to be he has widened his margin even more as he makes his way up over the hills. And it looks as if history is going to be made today. There you see Tiernan working his way down a great, comfortable pace. Didn't even bother with the gloves at the beginning of the race. And if you were to pan back, you wouldn't see anybody for several meters. Just past 22 minutes. I don't think he's going to get to the line in record-breaking time. But here comes Patrick Tiernan to the line, and he does it emphatically. Takes one more look behind him, and he will see nobody. It's the Tiernan triple. Patrick Tiernan is a 3-time Big East champion, crosses the line in dominating fashion, and made it look easy in capturing his third title. Here you see the race for second. It looks as if it's going to be John Green from Georgetown. Eric Peterson from Butler is going to finish second, and now all eyes will be on where those team finishes fall. So Georgetown across in second. Here comes Villanova. That's going to be the fourth place finish of Rob Denault. So he's going to dig through. And Villanova is going to capture the fifth spot as well, as churning right behind his teammate in good form is Jordy Williams. So Villanova will go 1, 4, and 5, but here come the Hoyas. They will go 6, 7, and 8. And with turning down, I do not believe the fifth runner for Villanova, and here he comes in your screen, is going to catch the fifth runner of Georgetown. It's going to be really close. A couple in that top, but again, it came down to a battle between Villanova and Georgetown, and just trying to do the math on the top of my head, and I cannot figure it out. So it is going to go to those unofficial results. We will get those to you as quickly as possible, but we can tell you with absolute certainty, and there on the left-hand side of your screen, breathing rather easily, Patrick Tiernan, in absolutely dominant fashion, there he is on your screen, becomes the first man ever to win 3 Big East cross-country championships. He removes himself from a list of such accomplished runners that had won 2. And keep in mind, folks, he is just a junior and still has one more year, you would think, ahead of him to perhaps make it an unprecedented 4 for 4 in outdoor championships in the Big East. An incredible run today, the rest of the teams finishing across, and so many of these squads knowing that the strength of the Big East lies in those Villanova, Georgetown, Providence trios. The host Xavier Musketeers with a good performance, an improving team trying to get their way into maybe a top 5 finish, and they're faithful here cheering the final ones on as they come across the line. Tiernan removes himself from a list of 2-time Big East champions that include Martin Fagan of Providence, Bobby Curtis of Villanova, who was on that list, Mark Carroll of Providence, John Troutman from Georgetown, Brendan Quinn from Providence, and John Gregoric of Georgetown, many of whom, Gregoric being one of them, Quinn another, who had an opportunity to win 3 races in Big East history, but the competition would get the best of them. Tiernan becomes the first to be able to win 3. Final runners digging mercilessly with the wind at their back as they come across this final finish line. There you see a fist pump from Marquette. Mike Nelson in his 9th year has never had a top half of the field finish in the Big East. They were hopeful that the team would have the depth this year to be able to do that. And again, pride on so many levels there in the finish area and the chute, as we'll have to tally up the final scores as they come across the line. We will give you unofficial results as they are made aware to us. Tiernan's final time, and how about this, folks? He does get the record unofficially, 22 minutes, 23.2 of a second. If that number holds, it will be a new Big East meet record, and he will have beaten John Gregoric's record from 1981 by 16 seconds. Tiernan winning by 21 seconds over John Green of Georgetown, and unofficially right now, we have the Hoyas as a 1-point winner over Villanova. 33-34 would be the final margin there. It may have come down to a shootout. Harry Warnick was trying to catch Ahmed Bile of Georgetown for 10th. Was digging as hard as he could on his heels coming down the chute and just couldn't catch him by 1.5 seconds. That difference may be the difference in a team championship, as Georgetown, a 6-time Big East champion, unofficially right now a 1-point leader. As there you see the unofficial times, and Patrick Tiernan in record-setting fashion by 16 seconds is the fastest 8,000-meter runner in Big East history. 22:23.2 is the final, and really separated himself from that trio with John Green, Eric Peterson. It was those 3 that at about 4,000 meters continue to be right there neck and neck. Tiernan put the Jets on at about 6,000 meters, never looked back, and cruised to a record-setting title. And there you run through your top 7. Those top 5 finishes by Denault and Williams, we said they had the potential to perhaps go 1, 2, and 3, and that may have been necessary for Villanova to capture a team title. They may have had to do that, as right now unofficially Georgetown by 1 point is your Big East champion. Again, all of these results unofficial. We will have official results likely about the time that we are getting ready for the women's race, which is scheduled to go off in about 12 minutes or so from right now. John Fanta is going to run down Patrick Tiernan for us as well as soon as we have him we will talk to him as well. Record-setting day, not just a 3-time champion, but a 3-time champion with the fastest time in Big East history. Patrick Tiernan, your individual champion. It looks like Georgetown by a point. We'll find out more and come back with more of the 2015 Big East Cross Country Championships right after this.
Greatness is not something you're born with, and you don't achieve it overnight. It's something you learn and refine. It's something you build together as a team. It requires exceptional effort, sacrifice and integrity, and tremendous faith. Greatness is not a destination. It's something you find in yourself at Providence College.
Welcome back to the 2015 Big East Cross Country Championships. With John Fanta, I'm Will Haskett, and the hype lived up with Patrick Tiernan, your 2015 Big East individual cross country champion on the men's side, becomes the first runner in Big East history to win 3 titles. The junior from Australia also shattering the 34-year-old meet record set in 1981 by John Gregoric, who ran 8,000 meters in 22:39. Today, Patrick Tiernan runs it in 22:23. And an incredible performance. It was a no-doubt performance. And in some ways, and you don't diminish the incredible athleticism and the incredible athlete that Tiernan is, he made it look easy. He made it look effortless on a perfectly temperature day, but I thought that the wind and some of the soft conditions and certainly the number of turns that this course here at the Golf Center at Kings Island provided would make for a tough test for him today to come near the record. Not a lot of elevation, didn't have to manage as many hills, but man, oh man, if there was a statement to be made today, Patrick Tiernan woke up on the right side of the bed and made that statement with an emphatic crossing of the line punch. Again, winning by over 20 seconds and destroying the previous meet record by some 16 seconds. Tiernan, your individual champion here in 2015. Again, unofficially, Georgetown, your winner by 1 point. And it came down to a battle for a top 10 finish, it would appear, between the number 5 runners for the Wildcats and the Hoyas. And it was Georgetown's Ahmed Bile, the junior, whose father was a world champion in the 1,500 meters a generation ago, who finished 10th, 1 spot ahead of the number 5 man for Villanova, and that may have been the difference, that 1 point difference between the Hoyas and the Wildcats. Again, with so many runners coming across closely, those results, are unofficial for the next few minutes, and we should have full confirmation on those team results coming up through the course of the broadcast and on the women's side. But what a race by Patrick Tiernan. You cannot say his name, you cannot talk about his performance enough for what he just provided, winning the Big East Championship for the 3rd time in his 3rd try, and becomes the first man to do so here today. So congratulations to Patrick Tiernan. The women will be towing the line for the 6,000-meter Big East Women's Championship coming up in 8 minutes, and that's the beauty of cross country. You'll see so many of these athletes that just ran 8,000 meters huddle up, put a jacket on, and they may still be doing some jogging to cheer on their teammates towards a team and individual title, where we don't know what to expect on the individual side of things, as you see the ladies going through their final warm-ups there at the beginning in that start line. On the team side, Providence ranked 6th in the country, 3rd at one point earlier this season. They have the best top 3 in college a few years ago in winning a 2013 national championship, and they are bolstered this year by the return of one of those big three, that being Sarah Collins, who now has a sophomore class underneath her that make Providence the overwhelming, you would say, favorite in this race, given their depth of talent at the front. But Georgetown and Villanova will be right there. The Wildcats, 9-time NCAA champions Gina Procaccio and this storied program. 10th at the pre-national race. They've got a very young team. Can they find their speed and peak here at this Big East Championship? And the Georgetown Hoyas, who won this Big East Championship a year ago, have just one of their top 5 runners back from a year ago. That's Andrea Keklak, who was 33rd at the pre-national race and 5th at the Big East Championships a year ago, but coming back from an injury in the outdoor portion of last year's spring season, hasn't gotten her reps up to where she would have liked them to be. There's a lot of question marks on Georgetown and Villanova that if they can all be answered today, they could certainly give Providence a run for their money. We do not have a defending champion in the field on the women's side, so we're looking to probably the Providence Friars 1-2 punch. We mentioned Sarah Collins, who was 3rd at this championship in 2013, missed all of last year due to an injury, and her younger teammate, Katarina Roca, who was 2nd at the Big East Championships a year ago. You would think those two will be at the front of the pack, but there are certainly some good individual runners, including Butler's Olivia Pratt. Don't sleep on the senior there. She won the pre-national race, and again, somewhat similar sort of running tracks between the two here in Mason, Ohio, and there in Louisville, Kentucky, and that there's not a lot of elevation, some significant turns, some tight running conditions against a really good field. Olivia Pratt from Butler won that pre-national race by over 12 seconds. So we have the opportunity for perhaps the dark horse, if you're looking for one, to challenge that big two for Providence coming up in the women's race, which is just about 5 minutes away or so from starting. But those are the names to watch. Again, Providence, Georgetown, and Villanova representing the 3 ranked teams that come into this Big East Women's Cross Country Championship, just like we had for the men a few moments ago. The Friars checking in at number 6 in the country, Georgetown 18th in the land, and Villanova 28th in the country coming into this one as well. They go through their final warm-ups, and a similar layout for the women. They will finger their way through this stretched out course with the holes going off in different directions. We'll move to the east a little bit. The fingers over to the west side as well. It kind of makes a little bit of a upside down T that the ladies will be racing their way through as they head back down towards the Interstate 71 and Kings Island Amusement Park and then work their way through the various spots of this brand new cross-country venue for a Big East Championship, adding to the history of the races that have been run through the last 30-plus years. So again, about 4 minutes or so away from the start of this women's race. And the men's race in the books, Patrick Tiernan, a 3-time Big East champion, and he made it look incredibly easy in winning in record time. And what an incredible race it was on the men's side. So tight, and again, waiting for the official response on the Georgetown final one. But it appears the Hoyas have captured what would be their 7th Big East championship by the narrowest of margins, just 1 point over Villanova. Tiernan's record finish just not enough to carry it all the way through. And with our champion is John Fanta.
We've got history in Mason. He is the king of the Big East again, and he is the first individual to win 3 straight Big East cross-country titles. I am now joined by Villanova's Patrick Tiernan. And Patrick, describe your emotions right now. You've done it.
No, it was a great effort. Midpoint came here today to try and get the team title, so I'm not sure how we did there, but look, it was a great day for all of us. Individual title's great, but I was just glad to see all of our guys getting across the line, having a great race. So,
what was this course like for you? What was the mindset as you were running this race?
It went out pretty quick. A Butler kid took it out quick, which I wasn't expecting. But you just got to be prepared for every situation. And the course was pretty flat, so it made for a quick race, which was good. But yeah, just stayed relaxed, didn't panic, and I think that's the key to it.
You've done this now 3 times, Patrick. How have you kept yourself so driven?
Mate, cross country is always something that I've loved growing up as a kid. So it's always been something special for me. So I think every time I toe the line, I just want to give it my best effort, So.
And what really for you, now that you have 3, what makes this one extra special in a way?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just another sort of stepping stone towards nationals this year. I wasn't really thinking about winning my 3rd title. I guess more just approaching it as another race. So I wouldn't say it's any more special in a sense, but I think there's something good coming this season. So it was good to get out there and have a good race today.
What has being at Villanova, being a part of this program, meant to you in all your success?
It's been great. Very successful program. I mean, I think my best memory of running at Villanova was the 4x-mile at Penn Relays last year. That's what we do. We do the Penn Relays. But I mean, I love it that the boys get out here and give cross country a go, and it's a great training environment. And no, it's been great for me. So.
The culture of this team, and to be at the forefront of it, to run with all of these guys around you. You guys have taken home those team titles. To be around them, what's that been like?
It's been great. Really, the first couple of years here was really great for me. We've had a bit of a transition process this year, losing Brian Basili and Sam McEntee. But we're adjusting, we're adapting to our new team, and I think we did really well today. So that was good.
It seems to me like this is just another moment on what has been a massive career for you, but it's just toe-hum for you, Patrick. You just keep on rolling ahead, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another race. Like I said before, it's just another step towards a bigger goal. And, yeah, we'll see how the rest of the season unfolds.
You're making it look easy right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So.
And he takes it with a grain of salt, and he's so humble. Will Haskett, a fantastic effort by Patrick Tiernan. Back to you.
Truly was. Record-setting, history-setting. Thank you so much, John, and thank you, Patrick, for the time. Again, a meet record. 22 minutes, 23.2 seconds. Unofficially, through the final results for the men, Georgetown by 1, 33-34 over Villanova. There you're taking a look at the individual results in the top 7 there. Again, one finish. If Denault Williams 4-5, again, this is a team in Villanova that didn't have a team championship to their record this year. In fact, they were second at the Princeton Invitational, despite running 1, 2, and 3 with those 3 that you see on the screen there from Villanova, but they were trying to find that kick from 4 and 5. They end up going 1, 4, 5, 11, and 13, while Georgetown places runners all in the top 10 in terms of those that score. 2nd, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 10th, add it all up. It will be an unofficial, still, 1-point victory for Georgetown to capture their 7th Big East championship. Providence a distant 3rd, 68 points. The Bulldogs of Butler, 97 points, thanks to that 3rd-place finish from Eric Peterson. And certainly with Peterson moving on after this year, though, a lot of young runners getting some good experience at the Big East level this year for head coach Matt Rowe. Marquette will get a top 5 finish out of it today. They were led by the 25th place finish, I should say 28th place finish, 25th in terms of counting points for Alec Miller. Marquette unofficially in 5th position ahead of Creighton, who edges Xavier by 1 point for 6th, 195-196. DePaul in 8th, and Seton Hall in 9th. There on your screen, the top 7 individuals. Not on your screen, though, and really where it came down to, it ended up being the difference. The number 5 man for Georgetown was Ahmed Bile, the junior, crossing the line in 23 minutes, 25.7 seconds. In 10th position, he beats Harry Warnick, who was the number 4 runner for Villanova, 23:27.1. Again, flip-flop those results. Again, you can flip-flop anywhere. You can make up 1 point in a blink of an eye in cross country. But the number 5 man for Georgetown crossing the line before the number 4 man Warnick for Villanova. Robert Hurlbut was the 5th man across for Villanova. He crossed in 13th position. So Nova counting 1-4, 5-11, and 13. So again, congratulations, Patrick Tiernan, a 3-time Big East champion, and the Georgetown Hoyas, unofficially your 2015 Big East team champions. And you heard from Patrick Tiernan there. Really the goal was to come here today and get a team championship. He did everything that he could, running faster than any man has ever covered 8,000 meters in a Big East championship meet. It bodes well, however, and you like where this sets him up mentally going into the remainder of this postseason, a true national championship threat, especially given the similar type of conditions, the similar type of course and running. Look, he was surprised that Eric Peterson ran the pace out as fast as he did. He was able to stay with them, put in the extra kick when he needed to, and ran away from this race in dominating fashion, rose to the challenge of that sprint by Peterson, and not only did he rise to it, then took it to another level to win in record-setting fashion. So congratulations to Tiernan, congratulations to the Hoyas of Georgetown. If anything changes on those official results, we will certainly have them for you during the rest of our broadcast here on the Big East Digital Network, and of course continue to check BigEast.com for the results as they are officially posted throughout the course of the day. There you see the ladies getting down to their uniforms and their bibs with all of the timing coming across. This race scheduled to start a few minutes ago, but just delayed it ever so slightly to get everybody to the line and ready for this 6,000-meter run for the ladies here to decide a 2015 Big East champion. We went through those favorites with you a little while ago. See the Golden Eagles of Marquette off a 6th-place finish at the Bradley Invitational. They were 5th in this meet a year ago. Mike Nelson's team with some strong runners. There you see those keeping warm in the chute. They will be waiting some 20 minutes from now to welcome in the top runners in this women's race. 10 Big East schools, all 10 of them fielding women's cross-country programs, so we will have an additional squad in this race. All 10 boxes are occupied at the start line. And this course, ideal for a conference championship setup because of the narrowness of the course, with roughly 112, 115 runners competing in both races, while the chute at the start sort of narrows down, not nearly what you would see in a national championship meet, 30-plus boxes of athletes. You need a wide, long stretch to allow the field and the packs to sort of merge down into what will be the peloton of sorts to guide those around the track. This one able to really navigate the runners quickly into position. As you see ladies getting ready to move to the line, making sure to keep as much warmth as possible. It was chilly upon arrival here in the Mason, Ohio area. And again, the breeze making today a little bit colder than what the air temperature might actually be. Temperatures have stayed relatively in the upper 40s. Good day to grab some tin foil and wrap up with a thermal blanket. And throw an extra layer on tonight for the trick-or-treating as well. No spooky finishes on the men's side, however. History being made. Now, not in the same position in this women's race to see history continued, but perhaps history started for an individual who may come from off the pace, or a team that may write a different story. Remember, this women's race a year ago turned out to be a lot different than what we anticipated. Georgetown capturing the title. It was really, Villanova, Providence, kind of the top two teams coming in. Georgetown had the depth. We just didn't know if their pack would hold up. They ended up winning, and it was the Bulldogs of Butler who finished third, somewhat surprisingly, coming off the pace to be able to capture that. There you see the Bulldogs on your screen. They're led by Olivia Pratt. You see they're getting ready to lead the Bulldogs. Pratt right there in bib number 108. We mentioned the winner of that pre-national race just a couple of weeks ago. Butler without one of their best returning runners in Lauren Wood, who's actually a resident of Mason, Ohio, and bittersweet that she could not compete, just nagging injuries, a couple of foot fractures. Matt Rowe and company wanted to try and get her healthy for this meet, just could not. Too prudent to keep her out of the lineup, get her healthy for both the indoor and the outdoor portion of the schedule. Just a sophomore. Wood, who has really matured into being one of the best runners in the country, wanted to make sure that she is completely healthy when they head inside in a couple of months. So she will not be in that Bulldogs lineup this year. So it'll be all Olivia Pratt, who you saw there on your screen. Can she maybe do what Eric Peterson, her counterpart in the men's side, did? Shake things up a little bit for that 1-2 punch you'll see some from Providence. There you see Providence in the middle of your screen. We're looking for Sarah Collins, Katarina Roca for the Friars to no doubt be at the front of this pack in the first 500-600 meters or so as they sprint down the hill to open up this race. The bibs you'll be looking for on your screen, especially as it relates to the Friars. Collins is in 158. Roca is 166, and we're underway in the 6,000-meter race for this women's championship. No surprise there. You saw Pratt out of the gates quickly, and she is going to push that pace all the way to the front. You see the Friars there trying to maintain that pace as well as they'll head down this chute. And we will not see likely separation until, about the first 1,000 meters. But, boy, look at that pace by Pratt. And there they head. And again, so much of this, the mind game that can be played. You'll see teams who will send that fast sprinter out to try and see if anybody will chase the rabbit, tire out some of those lead runners. But again, at 6,000 meters, you've got so many middle distance specialists, so many of the ladies that you see running in this race right now. When we move into the track portion of the schedule, you'll see some of them in the 3,200. You'll even see a few that'll be milers. They'll be running the 1,600 outdoors. The fitness level, the cardiovascular training that has become so strong in the sport that you will see more or less middle distance sprinters who can get themselves into shape during this cross-country season to run that 6,000 meter distance. And there has even been some conversation about, will we see the women's side at the NCAA level push the distance maybe a little bit farther to make this even more of an endurance, more of a long distance sort of test. That's a philosophical conversation for a different time, but certainly one that's within the minds of the running community right now. And the NCAA men's championship, while it's an 8,000 meter race here, Patrick Tiernan will have to take his great result here. It'll be an 8,000 meter test at the regional level, but when they head to Louisville for their national championship, the men will be running 10,000 meters. There you see there, they make that turn to the left. They've made that turn, and they run along Interstate 71. Replace your divots, folks. Fix your ball marks. And as they continue to push that pace, it allows us to take a look at this 6,000 meter course at the Golf Center at Kings Island. A little bit more thoroughly. Again, with the women, those loops, those, I keep calling them the fingers of this golf course that make up this track. You'll get a good view of it from up above, and this was shot yesterday. You see that interstate off in the distance, and they've hooked back around and now coming back towards the middle of the screen, and then they will shoot off to the right-hand side of your screen. You see two, looks like par fours running adjacent to one another. There's the shot where they have just kind of worked around that green in that little pond area to work back through by the road, that little access road that is back there. But again, not a lot of terrain. You are not really covering in this area of the country. There are some good opportunities to train with some elevation, but you just won't find it here in this area. That is Sarah Collins leading the pack. She was the one that really blistered out after the big start by Olivia Pratt, and she has now settled in and allowed the pack to catch up right on her backside. And you see a few Hoyas alongside with her, Andrea Keklak at the front of that as well. And Villanova with so many young, fresh faces in the lineup. You see a lot of those three big teams, Providence, Georgetown, Villanova, all represented in bunches in this pack, as we've yet to really establish any separation in this race. But it is Sarah Collins, the senior, has a national championship under her belt. She was one of what was dubbed the Big Three for Ray Treacy's team, winning that 2013 NCAA championship. She was the only one that returned. She was the underclassman. She was the sophomore on that team and then missed all of last year recovering from injury, and now she gets to be the one that is the upperclassman guiding her younger teammates, Roca, Katie Lembo, Brianna Ilarda, who are all coming off of top 14 finishes in this meet a year ago. She will be the inspiration for them here in 2015 and perhaps lead them to a Big East title. Let's check in with John Fanta.
Thanks a lot, Will. And you talked about Providence just now. How about junior Katarina Roca and the story behind her? Well, there's so much history with Big East cross country. The Roca family has some cross country history themselves. And when I was talking to the coaching staff earlier this week, they made it known that Katarina Roca has a special motivation for this race. It's her father who won the men's title in the mid-1980s. He was a star with Boston College and a member of the Big East. And she's got that extra motivation from her dad. It's a fantastic story. Katarina Roca thinking about the history of that Roca name in the Big East. And Sarah Collins leading the way, but Roca not far behind.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. So many expected this to be Roca's year after finishing second in this meet a season ago, that she would just naturally sort of graduate into the position of being the front runner. Well, I think many quickly forgot that she had a teammate who was sitting out, that of course being Sarah Collins, who was going to have something to say about it coming into this 2015 campaign. And it is Collins so far that has made it known that she could be the lady to beat in this one. Approaching 6.5 minutes of this 6K race. Again, the meet record set back in 2004 by Kim Smith, 19:23. We've already seen a course that has lended itself to great times today, with Patrick Tiernan eclipsing the previous men's record set 34 years ago, beating that record by 16 seconds in the men's race a little bit earlier here today. We will see if we have any opportunity to be able to break that record as well. There's a look at me. Hi, how are you? Good to see you here on the Big East Digital Network, right in front of the start of the finish line, I should say, the chute that's right here in front of us. We see many of the men's competitors that are making their way out to cheer on their teammates as well. And again, so close to the top of this race, still 30 runners or so within the top 5 seconds and that lead pack. Let's take a look a little bit closer at this golf center at Kings Island. And we were able to fly through it yesterday to take a little bit of a tour. And if you're just logging on for the women's race, we'll get you up to speed on what has taken place here in the area, the greater Cincinnati area. Really sort of drought-like conditions over the last month that were ushered out of here midweek. The remnants of Hurricane Patricia came through, dumping 2, sometimes 3, locally 4 inches of rain on this property. So it was a beaten down and very firm dirt in many spots sort of area, even on this golf course property, was quickly turned into a minor floodplain. In fact, by that start-finish line, we had a lake that took about a day or so to drain. So softer conditions than perhaps what was anticipated when the teams were preparing for this. But as the coaches and the athletes got on the course yesterday, had a chance to talk with many of them, they said, look, the footing was great. They put down some mulch in a couple of the key turn areas just as a preventative measure in case the footing got a little bit worn down, because the athletes will be, especially with 2 races, the women here today will be running over a path that's already been run on 3 or 4 times between the men's race and the first couple of times the ladies have traveled over it. So as you sort of make this way, these are the signage for the men's side. That's where the 5K mark was for the men. The women make this hook over here right now, and it'll be the only time that they make the hook on this far western reaching side of the golf course property. So they make that big turn, and again, we wondered if those turns would really be a factor in the timing, in the ability for these athletes to maintain pace. I think Patrick Tiernan's time has answered that question relatively easily for us, given how his record-setting time was set in this race. We can say for a fact now, as we're getting some of the initial scoring in for the women's side, that the men's race has gone official. Patrick Tiernan's time holding up, the record time of 22 minutes and 23 seconds. And on the team side, it is Georgetown finishing ahead of Villanova by a single point, 33-34. So Georgetown, for the 7th time in their program's history, is a Big East champion, beating Villanova by 1 point. Again, the final 33 points for Georgetown, 34 for Villanova. Those now official. Tiernan, the 3-time champion, and Georgetown, a 7-time team champion in the Big East, as those results have gone officially. We're continuing to do the tour. And this big turn on this race. We can let you know that with some technical difficulties in the first race, we were not on live for a portion of that men's race. The race will be uploaded to YouTube, so for those logging on to catch that race, can pass along that we are going to be uploading that race to YouTube so you can relive the history of Patrick Tiernan's incredible run into the record books, both in terms of time and in accomplishment, and Georgetown's narrow 1-point victory to capture the Big East championship. We'll start getting splits in now for the women's race as we've ticked past 11 minutes, 11:08. There you see the ladies separating themselves a little bit as soon as we start to see some of those splits coming in. Scheduled for one at the midway portion, which is right about where we are right now. So as we start to see some of those come through, we will be sure to relay that information on to you. But it was Sarah Collins at last we saw at the front of the pack. We've got a little separation at the front. We will separate from you as well at this moment. Back with more of this women's 2015 Big East Cross Country Championship meet here on the Big East Digital Network.
As one of America's premier Catholic universities, Seton Hall is a place where leaders learn to excel, both in and out of the classroom, to explore new frontiers, to serve those in need, to succeed as champions, to achieve their dreams.
We are Villanova University, passionate students, fearless innovators, future leaders. We are proud and grounded by humility. We learn together, work together, and celebrate together.
Greatness is not something you're born with, and you don't achieve it overnight. It's something you learn and refine. It's something you build together as a team. It requires exceptional effort, sacrifice and integrity, and tremendous faith. Greatness is not a destination. It's something you find in yourself at Providence College.
We'll ask it with John Fanta back with you. 2015 Big East Cross Country Championships officially in the books on the men's side. Patrick Tiernan, a 3-time champion, first to ever do that. And the Georgetown Hoyas by 1 point win on the team side. We are past the midway point of the women's 6K race, and here are your splits through 3,000 meters. On the individual side, Sarah Collins a 1-second advantage over Kennedy Weisner of Georgetown. And then Collins Fryer's teammates 3 and 4, Katie Lembo and Lauren Mullins at 3 and 4, leading a pack that's about 7 seconds behind Collins. That pack includes Andrea Keklak of Georgetown, Katarina Roca, who we've spotlighted from Providence, Haley Pierce from Georgetown, Piper Donahue of Georgetown as well. So if you're looking at that top 8 right now, it is made up entirely of Friars and Hoyas. 4 each for each team. Add them up with the 5th place runner, and at 3,000 meters, Providence 26 points, Georgetown 33 points at the midway point of this race. Villanova 84 points, falling off the pace a little bit. Again, a young team this year for Gina Procaccio. 6 of her 7 runners are in their just first or second year of running experience. They're trying to find depth a little bit more on the back end. Hi again, I'm Will Haskett. Glad you're with us here today. There you can see the runners off in the distance here at this golf center at Kings Island. And we should note with that 3K split, it was about 10 minutes and 14 seconds on the split for Sarah Collins. That is well off record pace. So we are not on a record pace in this women's race like we saw in the men's race where Patrick Tiernan was absolutely dominant. They work their way back towards that western edge of the golf course property, and then they will hook back around, make a sharp left-hand turn twice. The last sharp left-hand turn that will drive them down this finish chute, and we will just have to add it up as you will at home to see exactly what that final tally will be. Will it be as close as what we saw on the men's side? Could not have been any closer than what we saw. There you see Butler's Matt Rowe kind of running there in the distance, head coach of the Bulldogs, who were 4th at that 3K check-in. And you can see him barking some orders. Haven't really mentioned today, this is a really difficult course for the coaches, not in terms of the ground they have to cover, but in terms of being a first time to really run a race here outside of our hosts from Xavier, many of these teams seeing it for the first time. And also given the fact that you don't have a lot of great sight lines to be able to sort of see and understand where those packs and everything are coming from. It's an interesting sort of dynamic for these coaches to be able to find the spot, to motivate the times, and to figure out at what position these athletes need to be in to get to that final kick to make up the ground. For more, let's toss it down to John. John?
Thank you, Will. Well, you just talked about host Xavier, and it's a comfortable scenario for them to be close to home hosting this Big East Cross Country Championship. They've got an intriguing dynamic of youth and leadership. In terms of youth, potentially the future of Big East Cross Country for the Musketeers, it's freshman Caroline Gosser, who ran the 5th fastest time in school history at the pre-nationals, which helped the Musketeers place 8th as a team. That time, 21 minutes and 11.5 seconds. Gosser has been fantastic in her rookie season, and you got to think in her freshman year to be close to home, to be running in this race, a nice scenario for her and the Xavier Musketeers. One of the future runners that we could see at the front of the pack, Caroline Gosser of Xavier. Back to you, Will Haskett.
Thank you, John. One of several up and coming. I think the depth of the Big East in terms of cross country is certainly getting better. And they're not going to win today, but there are some great runners. Lauren Ogg from Creighton got her first win, just a freshman a little bit ago. Marquette's led by Brittany Felver, a junior, who ran the fastest time under head coach Mike Nelson's 9-year career just a few weeks ago. They are clearing the finish line chute as we are past 18 minutes in this race, and we will start to see if Sarah Collins was able to separate a little bit more at the front, or will we have a race to the finish. It is Halloween. We have a chicken on the property. Not sure how much candy he will receive later tonight. Bundle up your kids later tonight. It's going to be a chilly one if you're trick-or-treating here in the greater Cincinnati area. All right, runners have made their way out of that last portion of the course. They hook back around, make a little 180-degree turn, and here they will come into our vantage point for the first time. And there you see Sarah Collins has maintained the lead, and she has extended it as well. Sprinted out at the beginning, allowed the pack to come back to her a little bit, and then put the burners on, and she is flying down this final stretch with no competition in sight. Collins, who sat out 2014 due to an injury, helped lead her team to a national championship 2 years ago, returns to the lineup in her senior year, and she's going to go the distance for her first individual championship. Sarah Collins, your 2015 Big East champion. Boy, what a race and what a pace. Sprinted out, let everything come back to her. Now she turns back around, and she is going to see her teammates go 1, 2, and 3. Providence crosses the line in first, second, and third. There you saw Roca coming across. Villanova in fourth. Now Georgetown trying to dig, but they have dropped in the pack. The Hoyas now coming with a few down the chute, but with Villanova in 1, 2, and 3, all it's going to take is the back end of the lineup to propel Ray Tracy to what would be their 7th Big East championship. A lot of Musketeer faithful out here asking for that final kick. Can the Musketeers finish better than they ever have? 5th in 2013. They're coming to the line. You're seeing a few more Hoyas now slipping in there. I think they lost some ground somewhere in about that 4,000, 5,000 meter area. But you see the hugs from Collins to her competitors there from Villanova. That's Sophia Clary Butner, who a sophomore from Ireland. Collins and her have grown up running a lot together. Good race there. Collins works her way through. You could even hear her say a little bit, "See ya," much like Patrick Tiernan, sort of effortless in her dominance, and looked like a middle distance sprinter in the way that she ran out the pace early and then had the kick at the end to separate herself from the rest of the field. All right, as the runners come across, we'll start to get unofficial results into our location here. I can tell you Collins crossed the line. Boy, what a final kick. We mentioned that 3K time that was a little bit off of pace. She ends up just 9 seconds off of Kim Smith's meet record, 19:32.2, unofficially the final time for Collins, 19:32.2. And with Providence going 1, 2, 3, it was Mullins second. Katie Lembo ends up third. Roca was sixth. Providence goes 1, 2, 3, 6. And it had to go down to Brianna Ilarda and 14th. But unofficially, it is a easy victory for the Friars, the number 6 team in the country. 23 points, unofficially 45 for Georgetown. So again, a race that was much closer than that at the midway point. Some significant separation, including that three-headed 1, 2, 3 finish. Collins, Lembo, Ilarda, 1, 2, and 3. Roca in the top 6. And the Friars look to have made this one a very easy sweep of the podium. Again, nothing official till it's official, and those results may not go 100% official while we are on the air with you here live on the Big East Digital Network. The awards presentation will be taking place inside in about a half an hour, and we will have a full recap for you here on the Big East Digital Network of both of the races. But unofficially, those results right now looking incredibly solid for the Providence Friars, who appear to be in the grasp of their 7th Big East championship. And congratulations to Sarah Collins. Boy, for the first time around this golf center at Kings Island, they may want to rename it the Record Center at Kings Island. We saw a record by Patrick Tiernan. We nearly had a record by Sarah Collins. And while it was close on the men's side, Georgetown winning the title by a single point, it looks as if Providence is going to have really no doubt. And after a 5th place finish at the Wisconsin Invitational for Ray Tracy's team, dropped them in the national rankings from 3rd to 6th nationally. Boy, the finish today, and to have Roca end up, who was 2nd a year ago, she's been dealing with a little bit of a sprained ankle. They thought that she was going to be back to 100%. She ends up being the 4th runner across for the Friars today as she continues to get more confident and stronger with that ankle. It's a little bit of a statement today by Providence to the rest of the cross-country community to say, look, we are poised to live up to some of those higher rankings from earlier this season. But it appears the Friars, in comfortable fashion, have captured this 2015 Big East Women's Cross Country Championship. And congratulations to Sarah Collins, back and with a vengeance, capturing the individual championship with a time of 19 minutes and 32 seconds. Two really, really good races, and there you look at the unofficial top 7, and all you need to see as to why Providence made it look easy. 1, 2, and 3 for the Friars. You said there may be some surprises if some teams showed some depth and showed some form. Providence didn't let them today. The Friars 1, 2, and 3. Roca in at 6th. 14th would be the final counting position, but when you're only counting 6 points from your top 3 runners, that's a pretty good start for any team to have. Collins with a 15-second victory, and again, she was just 9 seconds off the Big East Championship meet record. Good run for Andrea Keklak. Had an opportunity perhaps to win this race as well. She was there with that pack at the beginning, but it'll be interesting when we have a chance to talk with Sarah Collins about her strategy in this race, in so much as that 19:32 time was really made up of 2 incredible sprints. The sprint off the line, really driving the pace of this race, and then she sort of cycled back to the pack, allowed that pack to run with her through about 2,000, 2,500 meters. And then at the midway point of this race, nursing what was just a 1 second, 2 second lead or so at that moment in time, Collins putting the afterburners on for her second, what you would call sort of sprint out of the race, and running away by 15 seconds to capture her first Big East cross-country championship. Again, missed all of last year, but has had a tremendous 2015 season. 8th at Wisconsin, Big East Athlete of the Week as well. And Collins will now add to her trophy case with a 2015 Big East Individual Championship. And again, unofficially leads her Friars team to the title here by a comfortable margin. As the last few runners running across, we will get the unofficial results from this one to you. See how some of those other teams fared down the board, and relay those to you here as soon as we have them available to us. We will also do our due diligence to talk with our individual champion, Sarah Collins, what a race that she has run today in becoming a Big East champion for the first time. 2 very worthy champions. In fact, if you were to, and we wouldn't encourage it, to handicap this race coming in, I think the 2 favorites on both sides, both on the individual and even on the team side, lived up to it here today. Tiernan, the 3-time winner on the men's side. Collins coming back from the year off in 2014 to capture the title that we felt would be hers last year had not injury gotten in the way. And then the top ranked teams on both sides capturing titles, it appears today. The 14th ranked Hoyas of Georgetown on the men's side and the Friars of Providence, 6th in the land on the women's side. Great day here today. Our thanks to Xavier University for being great hosts. Great meet, fast meet, records flying, and great championship performances all around. We'll step aside for a break, trying to track down our individual champion, and we'll wrap things up for you here from the Golf Center at Kings Island coming up next here on the Big East Digital Network.
Butler students leave ready to contribute on day one.
They come with passion, they come with professionalism.
We're required to have 2 internships during our time here.
And you have step-by-step guidance through the job search process.
It's always challenging to find a job, but at Butler, the community that's out there makes it a ton easier.
Butler really opened our eyes to the things that we can do once we left the campus.
We teach students to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, and those are the skills that every employer is looking for.
Welcome back to the Big East Cross Country Championships. We are done running here in 2015, the outdoor cross country season. Many of these student athletes you see will be transitioning into the indoor track portion of the year in a variety of disciplines and strengths. And on a cool, breezy day here just north of Cincinnati, Mason, Ohio, the site, Golf Center at Kings Island, 2 tremendous races and 2, individually speaking, tremendous championship performances. The record setter by Patrick Tiernan made it look easy, even said as much in his post-race interview, in winning in record-setting fashion, 22 minutes, 23.2 seconds. But it's the Georgetown Hoyas who capture the men's title by a single point over Villanova. And on the women's side, it was all Providence. Sarah Collins winning the race in a time of 19 minutes, 32 seconds, the 6,000-meter course was handled easily by her. A 15-second win over her teammate Katie Lembo and teammate Brianna Ilarda coming in 3rd in that race. 1, 2, and 3 at the top for Providence, and they win going away on the women's side. Again, that is still unofficial, but the gaps so distinct in that race that barring any sort of protest from unbecoming activity, you would say, on the course, that result should hold up, and Providence will be a Big East champion for the 7th time, and the national champions just 2 years ago in 2013. Again, a women's field that has represented on the national stage as the champion for the last 8 years at the NCAA championships. Providence will leave here Big East champs and the most likely team to be able to capture a national championship coming up in Louisville in a couple of weeks. This is a performance that certainly puts them right there at the forefront of conversation with some of the best programs in the country in terms of being able to win a national championship. Let's take a look at how the teams finished in this one. This, again, is unofficial. Providence there with those 26 points. Georgetown, look, they were right there in the middle of the race, looked very strong, but that kick at the end by Providence, that 1-2-3 finish, too much to overcome. And how about Xavier? Best ever finish here in the Big East in their short time, their best ever finish, eclipsing their 5th place 2 years ago. A 4th place run, great sprint to get Butler there at the end by a margin of 124 to 136. Nice job by Marquette as well. There you see Creighton, St. John's, and Seton Hall all the way down. But the story individually in this race, the performance of Sarah Collins, who wins going away, and she's standing by with John Fanta.
Of a comeback runner. She missed the Big East Cross Country Championship last year due to an injury. She took 3rd the year before that, and now she's at the top. It is Sarah Collins, the individual champion here in the women's race. And Sarah, how does it feel to finally be at the top of the Big East?
It feels great, and it's even like an individual win is nice, but I think we did pretty well as a team, and that's even nicer because these are the girls that you work with and train with all the year. And I think like at one point during the race, I heard Ray say we were like maybe 1, 2, or 3, or like in the top mix, and you're just like, oh yes, okay, we can do it. So it's great.
This course, running through it, going into it, we knew that it would be fast. How did you approach it?
I kind of just approached it, I think, the way I approach any kind of course, and just get out well and then feel comfortable and then get to the second half of the race and then really start pushing myself and kicking it into gear, and yeah, it worked out nicely.
Take me through your emotions from a year ago where you missed this race due to an injury to now climbing back and being here, being a champ.
There was definitely a lot of tears cried over the past year, but it's fantastic. And I mean, like, I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for like the fantastic team I have with like sports trainers, coaches, and the other girls I train with. I mean, they basically kept me as sane as I possibly could be kept last year and helped me through everything. So to be back here racing with them, it's fantastic.
I talked to Coach earlier this week, and he continued to tell me we take every year as it is, because you finished third a couple years ago, you finished second in your freshman year, but he said we don't look back to the past, it's always looking to the future. Can you echo that?
Oh my God, most definitely. I mean, especially coming into the season, I mean, I had pretty decent 2 years across, and it was really important to me that I didn't look back on them, because then you'll start comparing and you'll start analyzing, you'll start looking at times, and that's not good. Too much thinking is never good. Just take it year as it is, take the day as it is, and make it work to your advantage as best as you can.
Well, have a great trip back to Rhode Island. That's going to be a lot of fun. Have some candy too. Happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah, happy Halloween. Yeah, thank you.
The champion, Sarah Collins. Back to you, Will.
Thank you, John. She joins teammate Emily Sisson from 2 years ago as an individual champion. She was third to Sisson's first place performance. We mentioned that she was just 9 seconds off setting a new Big East meet record. That was set by another Friar, Kim Smith, who did it back in 2004, part of a two-time championship there. Fiona Crombie, few others, all on that list of Providence individual champions, and now that list includes Sarah Collins. And what a great interview as well there with John, as Collins, our champion here in 2015. And what you heard her talk about, the team mantra of approaching everything looking forward, not looking back. Look, they're going to look back at this for a little while, and they're going to have it in their memories as they think about what it allows them to do perhaps on the national stage. Again, not the same type of course, different footing, but from a weather standpoint, from a climate standpoint, from a lack of elevation standpoint, what they will face at that at that national championship meet. They were not at the pre-national meet. We don't know what this Friars team is capable of doing there in Louisville. You know they're going to take this performance, and they may look back a little bit as they're preparing for it as a bit of a confidence booster heading into that national championship. There's a look back at the individuals as they finished. Again, not official at this moment, but enough separation that we know that these are going to hold true. Sarah Collins, the champion by 15 seconds. It was Mullins and then Katie Lambeau behind her. And what a performance by this team with those top three crossing the line. Villanova there, Bella Berta, a nice finish there in fourth. Georgetown had a good pack. They were running right there at the beginning, faltered a little bit at the end, but you heard the emotion in Sarah Collins' voice. You could hear her. She was more excited about the fact that she knew she had teammates right behind her for a 1-2-3 finish than she was for her own individual title. Obviously, team comes before individual triumph. But for Providence fans, they got them both here in 2015. There you see the team scores again. Winning going away helps them to go 1-2-3. Providence over Georgetown. Villanova, that young team, getting some valuable experience. You'll expect to see that number come down the next couple of years as the Wildcats continue to mature as a team. And the best ever finish in a Big East championship meet for Xavier, edging Butler there for fourth with 124 points. They're back to the official results on the men's side. Patrick Tiernan, the fastest ever in 8,000 meters in Big East championship history, wins in really a stunning way today, just dominating the field, ran out fast. Eric Peterson from Butler set the pace. Tiernan was able to match that, extend, and then was able to look over his shoulder multiple times over the last 1,000 meters and continue to extend that lead. He wins by over 20 seconds and eclipses the previous meet record by 16 seconds. I mean, think about what John Green from Georgetown ran today. He was only 5 seconds slower than the fastest time in Big East Championship history, but was 21 seconds too slow today to win the meet as Patrick Tiernan becomes the first ever 3-time Big East Men's Cross Country Championship. It's a 3-peat to boot, the Tiernan Triple, as we've called it today. And if he's back next year, we'll have a chance to go 4 for 4 in his collegiate career. And it was so close on the men's side. Georgetown by a single point, the highest ranked team coming in. It came down to a top 10 finish by Ahmed Bilay. He was the last to cross the line for the Hoyas today in 10th, 33-34, that final. You had no idea until it was finally official, and there it was, with the Hoyas capturing their 7th Big East championship, a year removed from finishing second. Great day of races. Have to thank our entire crew, everybody associated with the Big East, and all the folks here at Xavier University for putting on a tremendous show. Congratulations to all of our winners, Patrick Tiernan and Sarah Collins, your individual champions. Georgetown on the men's side, Providence on the women's side, your champions as well here at the 2015 Big East Cross Country Championships. Awards and more to follow, and all of them can come your way right here on the Big East Digital Network.